But the next thing I realized, I was flying through these stars. I was just this, I wasn't a single separate anymore. I was this huge expanded awareness. And it was pure euphoria. It was absolute ecstasy. And now I was back to what we all are.
Yes, Bill, thank you so much for giving me the chance to speak to you. You had a wonderful near-death experience. I know you told the story quite a few times already, so I'm going to try and save you from the bit leading up to the NDE. It was 1994. You were on duty as a firefighter in Santa Barbara. You had to break into someone's apartment to try and rescue a very sick lady. And as you tried to put on an oxygen mask on her, she was so happy to see you guys that she let out a, "Oh, thank you." And that hot breath filled your lungs. Within 12 hours, you were badly sick yourself, ended up in hospital. You had some complications due to the medications they had given you. You ended up in intensive care. And at some point in the middle of the night, you left your body. I know that is a very concise summary of what happened, but I guess that's where the fun bit begins. So why don't I let you take over?
Well, that was just fantastic. I'm going to hire you to give my interviews because you tell it better than I do. So we're at the NDE, and the next thing I realized, I had a blood pressure of 40 over zero. My wife said they couldn't get you back. And so they put me, like you said, up in intensive care and had all this equipment on me. And then I was just, I was out cold at 3:30 in the afternoon. But the next thing I realized, I was flying through these stars, just these super colorful stars. It was like a homecoming. I was just this, I wasn't a single separate anymore. I was this huge expanded awareness like a cloud. I went on, I went everywhere, and all of these stars, these colored balls, these orbs, they were just it was all emotions of welcoming and praise um, and it was pure euphoria. It was absolute ecstasy, like I'd been released from a hot, stuffy closet, and now I was back to what we all are. And I couldn't really get over it. I was like, man, that was a gnarly experience, this being in the earth. And it was all the emotional stuff. It was such a relief to be rid of all of that stuff that we carry, the lower vibrations, the feelings that cling to us through our many lives, unresolved. The shamans call it healing when they purge those things. And I felt so good, and I was very amazed at how did I forget who I really was? How in the world? I mean, I was having this conversation with myself. How in the world did I believe I was this guy? How was it that I forgot who I really was? And I went through all of that was going on in Earth, all the anxiety and, worrying about the future and wondering whose feelings you hurt and why did I do that? And, all these things, they were just gone and they didn't mean anything. They never did. It was like a game or an experience that we trick ourselves into believing this is completely real. And it just felt so good to be out of the game. Um, and I don't want to encourage anybody to leave the game early, but when it really gets us down, um, it's not real. We're just pretending. It's just a game. We go on, and we really are stoked to be back at being who we really are. So I was flying along, loving it, watching these stars just part, and they were all like reaching out and just giving me these vibes of welcoming and praise. I just felt like I was home and I was loved, like you can't even explain. And I was thinking, man, I could do this forever. And, sometimes people say things like, I just get bored, flying along. But it's not like here, where we come from. We have this thing about time that it's an illusion. But where we come from, every new moment is brand new. And you're just constantly happy and stoked and excited about what this next moment brings. And then it's gone, and then there's another new moment. And you're in this constant state of euphoria, just excited to be alive. And you're still alive. You're just not here in the physical. So I was flying along thinking, man, this is awesome. This is perfect. And thank goodness I'm home. And then everything shifted. It shifted again. And I was in a room, a white room, like a facility. And I've said many times, every time, that it had indirect lighting. And you'll hear this, if you listen for it, you'll hear it from, we really don't understand why we have to say that, but it's like you're in a white room and it's lit. It's lit with the light of the other side. And it's like you can't really see where the light fixtures are or where the, on off switch is. I think, what was her name? Elizabeth Rosemary Thornton. She said the exact same thing. And I love her story. And she said she was in a white room and she was looking for the appliances that were holding the lights, and she couldn't find them. So that was cool.
Nice.
And it was, it had shifted. It was different now. It wasn't the wide open expanse feeling. It was more of a, like I was a being contained in a room with other beings. And right in front of me, there were these three smiling, giggling little hooded guys. And they were overjoyed to see me. They were super excited and bouncing around. And they were saying things like, well, how was it? Just all of a sudden they were on me. And it's like, how was it? What did you learn? What can you tell us? And giggling and, talking to each other, and just really joyful, playful guys. And I was just staring at them. I'm sure I was some sort of form of myself of something. And because they were looking at me, and I was just looking at him, and I was like, well, where am I now? And who are you guys? You guys are very different. And they looked exactly like those guys in the movie Communion. But I never saw the movie until just a few years ago. And, when I watched it, I noticed that the music that plays when those guys are, doing their thing, the music is this like diminished fifth thing, which sort of entrains a feeling of fear with us. It's music can do that with the a Beethoven symphony. And, it's like this dun, 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 this kind of down tones that brings you into kind of a state of fear. And colors can do that. The combination of black and red, that drops you right down to the root chakra where everything's base, survival and fear. And yeah, that's what the movie Communion, they looked exactly like that. But if anybody wants to try it, just turn the sound off and watch those guys. And they're very similar to what I experienced. And just to stay on this a little bit more, because I think this is the hardest place for people. Terence McKenna talks about when he did his DMT.
Machine elves, right?
Yeah, he called them machine elves. And if you watch some of his short videos, he'll say that as soon as he breaks through, they're on him. And they're like, "It's so good to see you. You know, nobody comes anymore, and what have you been doing?" And it's exactly that's exactly what I experienced. And then also
Wow.
in DMT, the spirit molecule, where Rick Strassman's um, volunteers, he injects them with a breakthrough dose of DMT, and they're in this facility all of a sudden. And these orderlies, and as the people reported them as disorderlies because they were so um, unorganized and bouncing around and joking or laughing it up. And so there's four mainstream things that all say the same thing. And when we start getting past the fear, I think these things are going to become visible soon to everybody, and it's only going to be a small percentage fraction of 1% of the world population that's going to go, "Oh, this is what those dudes are all talking about." Because we are creators. We are a little micro sliver of the creator creation, and if we slip into a fear scenario over something, then it builds around us instantly. And I don't know if you use this, but I'm glad I got to say that, because that's the biggest stumbling block for people, because there's a big religious crowd that says they're demons and um, trolls and they're out to get you, and nothing could be further from the truth. They're a bunch of little puppies, and they're jumping all over you, and they're happy to see you. So anyway, yeah, they were asking me all these questions, and I didn't realize, like I said, I was a little bit out of sorts because all of a sudden I was there. So I was looking at it, but I wasn't fearful and I wasn't, in any kind of a panic, or I didn't want to get out of there or anything. I felt completely fine. I was just not, I didn't have my other side wits about me. And, if you read Tom Campbell's stuff or if you watch his videos, it takes us a little time to process that we have crossed over. And that's exactly what I felt. Just this kind of out of it state, fully lucid and all that, but not realizing, not putting together what was going on. And then there was this other guy, and he was obviously in charge, and he was in the background at first. He was letting this all play out, and then he came forward, but he had this spin to him, and he had this like he was underwater. His face, would change, and he was this sliver of a person, like a walking stick insect with a face, and he had this spin, and he was super happy to see me. And when he came forward, that energy just engulfed me, and I felt like I was going to fall down on my knees and cry and sob uncontrollably from love. And we've all felt this with a love for a child or for a dog, or even if it's just watching a movie or at a wedding or something. We've all felt, "Oh my goodness, I can't contain this. I'm going to lose it." And that's what it felt like I was going to lose it. And he came forward, and he had this big smile on his face, and all he was doing was chuckling. And I was looking at him going, "Well, now who's this guy?" And I knew I was in this uh, divine place, because they all felt wonderful to be in their company. There was no fear or anything. But as he came forward, we kind of had this small talk thing going back and forth. And I just remember he was chuckling all the time. He was cheerful, and they were giggling and bouncing around. And I just watched this for a while. And I watched this just the other night. It was a movie with Robin Williams, and it was called What Dreams May Come.
Yes, that's a brilliant one. Yeah.
That is incredibly brilliant. And so when he first starts talking to the black guy, Cuba Gooding, the way that Cuba Gooding moves, he's got that swirling underwater look, and he comes in and out, and then he pops over here, and at one point he does this spinning thing and these colors, and he disappears into you know, moves away in a vortex. That is exactly what I saw.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, his face is popping in and out of those, divine colors that are in that mix. It's just it's wonderful to sit back and watch this, because the world has an incredible opportunity right now to embrace what we really are. And you can look back at your own history of all these movies and say, "Oh my goodness, this all ties together. These are all puzzle pieces that I didn't even know there was a puzzle." And I'm sorry if I'm going too far, but
No, no,
this
that's brilliant. It's all
okay. It's
good.
just helpful. I think it's helpful for people in these times, because we didn't really talk about it, but I think you and I agree that something's coming, and uh,
Yeah, let's talk about it. What do you feel is coming?
I feel that this about the precession of the equinox, the great year, the 26,000 year cycle that
It
all the ancient
started at
civilizations.
2012. Yeah, the Maya reset at 2012. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And you know what, that is when everything started happening to me was 2013. 2012 was the end of 2012 was the date. And then 2013, everything started happening for me. And then by 2015, I was like, neck deep into this mystery, knowing it's full real. But looking at a world that doesn't understand most of it. We've got all these stories. We've got this religion, and we've got science and history and popular, pop culture. And there's all these experts and all these stories of what we are, and none of them are accurate. And that fits with the whole procession, because we're coming out of an iron age, a dark age, and today I think is the 23rd or 24th. And this Kali Yuga, there's the yugas, there's the silver age and the golden age and the bronze age. And we just a couple of days ago left that iron age and started on the bronze age. And the light has been turned on. It's dim, and you got to look for it in the world, but it's there. And it wasn't there, as much a year ago, and it really wasn't there 10 years ago. And to be honest with you, I think myself, and I think a lot of these guys, like John Davis and Andy Petro and Mary Neal, there's a long, long list. We're all early arrivals, and we're supposed to help with this. And by just being real, being honest and being real, not being business people or trying to be important or whatever, just tell your story from your heart, and the world is going to understand. And we'll move. There is an order to how the world progresses. We're all not going to wake up. Only some, and that opportunity is, it's going on right now. And I think, in the next year or two, the things I'm talking about, ordinary people are going to see them. They're going to either see them in their dreams, or they'll see them when they daydream, or they may even see them on their computer screens. So that's what it is. And a lot of people, like somebody who drinks ayahuasca, and then they come out of their ceremony in the morning and they're like, "What happened last night?" And a lot of people are going to have that those kind of feelings. And just like the NDE people, they're like, what was that? Um, and some people take years. I took 15 years to actually ask that question and mean it. But, Andy Petro took 30 or 40 years. And I asked him, I said, what do you think was the deal? He says, I think I was always supposed to do this, and this is absolutely my purpose in this life. So I don't know. I think it's super exciting times, and I think what you're doing is the work of the other side, this divine hand in our intuition, our motivations, and it's all leading towards helping millions. So that's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, no, I find myself completely aligned with your vision. I think this is an amazing, exciting time to be alive. I feel, 2012 surely has taken a big role. The way that I see is that perhaps we're witnessing the emergence of the field of near-death studies since the 70s, because that's when really we started to thanks to these two medical innovations, which are the defibrillator and CPR, for the first time in history, we started to have a lot of people coming back from the dead. And as you know yourself, 15-20% of them are coming back with, recalling a near-death experience. So as you mentioned yourself, it takes a few years to integrate and to come out. I know that medics are not quite well equipped to even offer the appropriate support network for NDEr. So we're still early stages. But like yourself, I really do feel that we're witnessing, let's say, the dawn of a new era, where perhaps we're able to see the shift from a material society to a more spiritual one.
That's absolutely what's going to happen. And, money's going to go away, and we'll be in communities that will be more like a village where everybody is treasured and everybody contributes. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be awesome because we're going to know who we are. And that's what those ancient civilizations, those pictures in Egypt, those carvings where they have the big snake coming out of their forehead and stuff. They know who they are. They know that they're a temporary human, and they want to encourage that spiritual growth. Anyway, everyone will have that ability. And so, the lawyers and the used car salesmen and, all these guys, they're going to have to look for another job because everyone is going to see your intent and everyone will strive for perfection. That's what I see coming.
Yeah, well, can't wait. I'm very hopeful myself. I have so many questions for you. So first of all, I'll be curious to know, before this experience, what was your view on life after death?
I didn't really have a view on life after death. I didn't worry about it. I don't know why that is. I've been asked that before, but I was raised Catholic, and it seems like there's something that goes on, a soul and all that. But on Sunday, we had this Irish Catholic priest who just yelled at everybody for 20 minutes. That was his performance, and it's like, man, whatever comes after this place, it ain't that, because it was just fire and brimstone that we all, sucked, and we're all gonna die and burn in hell, and if we didn't repent, and it was what I did do a lot. I mean, I was a forest ranger and a surfer, and I was outdoors, sleeping on a ridge top or in the backcountry or
Nice.
on a fire line. I was always in nature, and on my days off, I'd be surfing or backpacking with my wife. So it was outdoors. That was where I found, God.
Well, so the next question is it's probably going to sound a bit basic for those who have had the direct experience or that perhaps have studied these topics long enough. But I do want to ask you, are you afraid of death these days?
No, not at all. Because there is no death. We go to bed every night, and we pretty much do the same thing that we are going to do when we die. We we wake up in another life. We call it dreams, and we don't remember most of it, but we wake up in this mental version of the universe that is the real universe. So yeah, I live in California here, and Edgar Casey's got his predictions that are set for the next 10 years, and the whole place is going to go into the ocean and all this stuff, and it's got maps about it and everything, and Vinnie Tolman is saying the same thing. Follow your intuition. If it's you're supposed to relocate, then relocate. And I've had some visions. I do not talk about them. I don't want to go there, but same type of thing. And I plan on just riding it into the ground. Um, I'm in my 70s, so I'm happy. I'm grateful, and just hang out
Great.
here. And
Yeah.
and that's proof. If that question is a super strong, a powerful question for anybody, but that right there is, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm saying, like Woody Harrelson in that movie 2012, where he blows up on the Yellowstone cauldron or whatever. He's this crazy guy, and he just stays there, and the thing blows up, and that's what I'm going to do.
Fair enough. Get out
Yeah,
and
there's no
start.
there's no dying. Nobody dies. You grab another suit.
Yeah. Imagine what a world that would be if we all realized that at some point. But we're getting there slowly but surely.
Right.
So next question is something that is not, I think, been talked about enough, which is the integration process. Because, most people assume that you come out of an experience like that and you are immediately transformed. But in most cases, it's more like a gradual process of integration.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it is. I would say that also that there's a plan, there is a divine script. We all talk about, a lot of the NDErs, so some of the fantastic ones, they talk about reviewing their life and, looking back and looking forward. And, it's like a movie. And I'm really not Bill Letson. I'm really some other soul. That's here having playing a game, in a movie, in a play, and I drop Bill, and I go home where everyone else is, and we're all friends. Even your worst enemy is a wonderful close friend that you adore. And that life review thing. That's I'm big in this movie thing, but that movie, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
That's a life review.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
and
right.
also A Christmas Carol with Scrooge.
Yeah.
And he looks back at his life, and he sees his present life, and he sees the
The
future.
past and the future. That's right. Yes.
It's a life review. Mary Neal, she was shown the death of her eldest son, and had to come back and integrate that. Now, talk about integration. I couldn't think of anything harder than that. She's a very special soul. I'm convinced of that.
So that begs the question, why do you think we're here?
Uh, I I think we're here to experience this low frequency, um, vibrations, emotions. They don't exist anywhere else in the universe. They're only here, and that's why this place is so hard. Because we give up our knowledge of what we really are. We come in here with a memory wipe, they're calling it, and I can absolutely attest to that. And then we have these adventures as these characters, these avatars. We go and then we go back, and the purpose here, I think, is these emotions in the earth plane, that it is so difficult. These emotions are so hard for us to get past. It is a long, long game, and many lives, as many different physical creations, and we've just played it at the most difficult setting. I heard this recently from some guy, and he's right. We just played it. It's finishing up, and we've just played it at the most difficult setting. And, there's going to be, with the help of guys like you, there's going to be a number of people who are going to complete the game and rise out of this place on this round. And, what's going on with all this sharing and stuff with information, ancient knowledge. It's an opportunity like none other for us to understand who we really are. And the purpose of this life is to experience those really harsh emotions and to conquer them. And that's what we are. These temporary avatars, we're here to suffer and sacrifice and then not worry about it, not react to it, and pull out of here knowing it was a game.
Wow. Yeah. Well put. Someone may wonder, why would the Creator make us forget all of this?
I guess so we can prove at our essence that our soul is growing. We carry that spark of creation. They say it's wrapped around our spine, coiled up, waiting to awaken and reunite with, creation, the light of the universe. So I think we have to get enough sense about us that we listen to our own intuition, which is our connection to our divine mind. It's because it has a gag order, it can't step forward. We have to reach down and find it. And, we design this life we're having. It's you can look at the template of the design on your birth chart, and all those energies that were present at the place you were born at the time and all that, they're scripted on you for this life. And, we pick some wild stuff to have to get over. Some really low vibrational qualities of the people that we choose. And we have to see our divine self, sweetness, kindness, concern for others, all that has to come through. And then we've proven that we've got this sort of bulletproof essence to our soul. You can edit that any way you want, because there were some jewels in there, I know.
I think I'm gonna keep all of it, to be honest. I love the fact that I can't remember which one of your podcasts you mentioned something on the lines of each one of us needs to go through 3 or 4 tsunamis, right? 3 or 4 very pivotal moments, very challenging events, so to speak, that really challenge our soul. And I can certainly relate to that. I must have had more than 3 or 4 by now. But it's true, in hindsight, you realize that there's some lessons that you can only learn through very, very challenging moments of your life. And it's not easy, of course, as you go through them, but they're almost fundamental to our growth.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up, is because looking back at my life, I've had some biggies. It doesn't show because I didn't react to them. And I said, well, that was not cool, but I don't want to make it any worse. And continued, I've had some guys that didn't do very nice things to me in my career and things. And whenever we have a, reunion, that's the first guys I call. And I just give them love. And some of my friends are like, "What, dude, why would you call him?" And I'm like, well,
he's the one needed the most, right?
That's it. That's true. That's true. Because, everyone he used to go after everyone. And I don't know. It's just, it feels really good to be in a position to say, hey, bro, It's all good.
Yeah,
It's just a game,
yeah.
and
Be
we're
detached
all
by
we're
it.
all brothers on the other side. But your life doesn't take a nosedive when you come home and your wife doesn't want to live with you anymore, or wants a divorce. We've all had relationships, things like that happen, and it's like, okay, well, let's get you set up, as best we can, and just proceed with love. And the problems with your marriage, sometimes they just go away because
Yeah,
that's how you reacted.
absolutely. What's the biggest lesson you've learned from your NDE?
The biggest lesson I learned from my NDE was that if you want to know what's going on in the world, you talk to the near-death experiencer. We're all out there. It's like we all got a piece of the puzzle, and if you put those together, you start getting a really good story. And you talk to the near-death experiencer, and you talk to the shamanic medicine, the healing ceremonies. These, it seems crazy. I don't recommend it, but these shamans, what they're actually doing is putting you in a position for some of that energy that's holding you back, for it to escape, for you to heal it. So there's the NDErs, there's a shaman, and then there's the deep meditators, the guys like Darius Wright. That guy is absolutely for real. The things he talks about, I see them too, but he sees them and understands them, and he's getting some kind of guidance. There's all these constructs and all these universes, and it's a huge, wonderful place. So those three, the near-death experiencer, the shamanic medicine group, and the deep meditators, what they do is they have experienced themselves away from the physical world self and the physical world mind. Um, and they've come to an understanding, that a knowing that this is a temporary gig, nobody dies, and we go someplace else, and it's really a huge upgrade from our life here. And that's that whole thing about know thyself. Um, when you know yourself, when you know that, then you don't die, and um, you're actually, with all three of those, you're putting the character, the beast, asleep for a period of time, and you're experiencing yourself away from your current world self. And that there's this saying, to live in this, to truly live in this life, or to live forever, a man needs to die while he's still alive. And that's what those three things do, is give you a separation from your current character, which you are 100% engulfed in, immersed in. And it's an incredibly hard thing to even comprehend, that we aren't the voice in our head and the person looking back at us in the mirror. We aren't that.
Yeah, we do need a little reminder every now and then. So I think you probably just answered my next question that I normally ask my guests, whether you think there's anything that people who have not had a near-death experience can do to come to terms with the notion of an afterlife.
Okay, I'll answer that, but I want you to answer it too. Um, and okay, having a near-death experience, that's not something you can arrange, but you can drink the shamanic medicine. Mostly people do not understand what they went through because it's so crushing. You're literally ripped out of your current life, and you're going to arrive back in your life in the morning, but during that night, I went through hours of agony, rolling on the ground and moaning and drooling, just waves of fear, because you're fighting, that current personality is fighting to hang on to control, and
Yeah.
the medicine is pulling you out of it. So the last one that's left is the meditation. And if you listen to all these experts, they're all saying the same thing. If you're looking for answers, get to the meditation and, eat the vibrant food and drink the structured water and spend time in the morning with the sun, with the breathing, get your lungs full of prana and sit in gratitude and appreciation, and your life will absolutely change. Okay, but you were going to answer that
You want me
that
to
last
answer? Okay, that's fine.
because
Let
I
me
did,
try.
and this is why, because I'm learning from you guys, and you're unusual. You have a lot of understanding, and
Well,
you
I mean, in all fairness, I have meditated for a number of decades by now, and I did do some work with the plant medicine, so I can certainly resonate with everything you mentioned. And I think I'm the proof that it doesn't take an NDE to start to look at life in a different light. And another one that's certainly worked for me is bibliotherapy. I mean, there's so many books, there's, as you mentioned, many movies which give you a nice feel. So I feel that these days, if one cares to look, the information is out there. But the problem is that we're talking about something that our human brains cannot conceive, and we as humans we have a tendency to want immediate answer. We just want a yes or no answer. And what I tell people also in my conferences is that you're not going to get there. Unfortunately, the mystery of the afterlife is such a complex topic that you need to approach it from various angles. So obviously NDEs being one of them. As you probably know, there's children remember their past lives, with the work of Ian Stevenson. There's deathbed visions. You mentioned there is right. So people have the power to get out of the body, to induce an out-of-body experience. So I don't know which one is going to work for the person listening, because they're all slightly personalized. But I think that probably the answer lies somewhere in the mix among all of those. So I've tried a little bit of everything, and the integration has been very long for myself too. I must have studied these topics for the last 7 years full times, and I'm still coming up with more and more questions to try and find an answer to. But like yourself, I can confidently say I'm no longer afraid of death, and that makes me live this life from a completely different perspective, and that by itself is such a gift. It's such a wow, so grateful to just being alive. People often they want to win the lottery, and I tell them you already won the lottery. You're an eternal being, alive and enjoying this human experience, and then you go back to where you came from. And what else do you need? I mean, this is as good as it gets, right?
right.
So yeah, I don't know if that answers it, but yeah, that was my take on it.
I'll just tack on to that is, if you're listening to my story, I had the NDE, and that's an invitation to question what you really are. Well, I just got back into character, and I didn't respond to that one, and then I was led to this shamanic thing, and then I had this wild couple of evenings with Taito Juanito. These guys are gnarly, and in the morning I was like, wow, that was gnarly, and then I got back into character, and then of 2012, 2013, I was around these people who the whole village would go into silence for week, 2 weeks at a time, and they only ate, vibrant food and raised your vibration. And then I did this thing where I just would sit quietly and let go, call it meditation. Um, I didn't really follow any instructions or anything. And years of that, and this is why I sound like I know what I'm talking about, and I sound confident and relaxed, um, because yeah, I was all three. I did all three, and you said it really well, that it is ridiculously hard to get past the current character and the voice in your head, but it's doable. And the meditation is what brought it over the top for me. The kicking back, staring at the wall or at the blue sky, and letting go for hours. You know, like Darius Wright, when he said he sits for 6 hours,
Yeah.
that's what I said. That's what I used to do, just because it felt so. I mean, I'm seeing these incredible faces and stuff, and it felt amazing. You didn't never want to come out of that blissful trance, hypnotic state. So, yeah, that was a good answer.
Oh, thank you. Likewise. Brilliant. So on to my next question then. What's your idea of God these days?
God is love, and love is everything. When we leave here and we get away from all the nastiness that we see on our computers and stuff, it's all love. It's all unity and togetherness, blissful, ecstatic, euphoric experience of being this conscious being in the universe, and it's all love. And you, from where we come from, you can't even comprehend what happens here. You can't really even remember it. You just know that it was really hard. So yeah, we come from love. God is love. It is a collective consciousness, a source energy, and we are all joyous particles of light, navigating a sea of immense bliss. And that's called love.
Great answer. So I have one last question. What's the meaning of life for you?
The meaning of life is to be kind, to do unto others as you'd have others do unto you, to come forward with kindness and sweetness and compassion and caring. And when we raise our vibration in this life long enough, hard enough, we get to leave. We get to go home where that's all there is. How's that?
Yeah, I think that sums it up, really. There's nothing else that needs to be added. Well, Bill, what a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing, for the work that you're doing, for the light that you're spreading. And I wonder if perhaps you have any parting message to leave us with today.
Man, I never get ready for these questions. Okay, so parting message is we covered everything that that I'm interested in saying now. I think the time has, yeah, that's a good parting message. The time has come, and there's no reason to be fearful anymore. The answers are out there. They're on YouTube. There's people like Edward Grant and Robert Griffith. They're talking about ancient knowledge. Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's got that series on Gaia, and the things he's talking about with as far as with tightening your stomach, and that's Kundalini yoga. And if people are feeling this need to awaken that energy that we all have in our base of our spine, he's showing you for free that you can move that divine energy up and live a life of absolute bliss and harmony and a knowing. Once that energy moves, all the guesswork's gone. You know who you are, and you know what everyone else is. You know what every living thing is. And when you get there, life is just an absolute joy to be in.
Yeah, it really is. Well, Bill, thank you so much again. And wishing you all the best. Bye for now.
Yeah. All the best to you. You're doing wonderful work.
Thank you. Oh, hi there. Well, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the IANDS community, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and maybe share with the ones you love. If you're looking for another video to watch, I think this could be a very good one. New episodes out every Friday. And until then, enjoy the stream we all call live and live the love you wish to see in the world. Bye for now.